Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Thanks, It's Vintage with your hosts, Andrew
and Lydia.
And we are back here at the Kenmore Square Vino Divino location right by Fenway Park, where we usually are. We'll take this show on the road someday, but that is not today.
Someday.
Not today. Today, we are going to talk about a really cool topic, actually.
Yeah.
Something that I think is perfect when we discuss summertime wines, and something I think we all love, appreciate, gravitate to. This is a category of wine I don't think a lot of people really shy away from, honestly. And that is wines that are more in the world of salinity, coastal wines that are influenced by the sea, the ocean, wherever they may be. And we're going to talk about why that is. Why are they influenced by these areas? Is it the soil? Is it the wind? Is it the climate? Is it all of the above? Is there anything to back any of this up? Is there things to back it up that we just don't have answers to? Part of our discussion, right? Yeah. But yeah, thought this would be a really good topic for you and I to do a little bit of a deep dive in for everybody. Like I said,
I love this topic.
It's summer. These are the kinds of wines that people really start gravitating to in this weather. So,
big picture, the catch-all term, minerality, which is a bit of a divisive term. It's become very common.
Yes.
But about 20 years ago, it barely existed.
Which is interesting.
Which is very interesting. And actually, references to this word, minerality or mineral-driven or any kind of use of that word, didn't even exist in wine textbooks or wine books that focused on tasting until the 2010s.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the big ones didn't even use the word at all. Of course, there are terms that were accepted, like steely or rocky or, things like that. More kind of particular wording. But they were usually only associated with a handful of regions. So this kind of catch-all term, minerality, has really become useful to the wine world in a way that no one saw coming, and also that has annoyed people because it's a vague term. And more importantly, because we don't actually have much scientific evidence to show that the complex minerals in the soil directly relate to the minerals that end up in the wine.
So that is an interesting point.
Yes.
This is something that we've talked about quite extensively with wines that come from very specific areas when we want to talk about just strictly minerality. And we'll obviously get to salinity in a moment, because that, I think we all know, has less to do with the soils and a little more to do with where they're growing. Some of these are absolutely getting a healthy dose of that, right? And some of these, not so much maybe. But minerality in the soils, we have an Etna Bianco here on the table from Tenuta del Terroir, and volcanic soil. This is a thing that we've talked about, right? Why do people love Santorini Assyrtiko specifically, right? Other than the fact that it's expensive and beautiful, and sometimes we associate quality with a price point, even though
hard to find these days.
Right? And I get it, right? But that quality is not lost based on Assyrtiko coming from other places in Greece. However, Santorini, heavy amount of volcanic soils. And clearly it tastes different. Also, it's a tiny little island, so there's other factors that are going on as well in terms of the growing conditions, right? So we taste these things in the glass, but we have no science to back it up. But when we grow that same grape somewhere else without those same conditions, we can taste the difference.
And this is the age-old issue of subjective correlation,
right,
to actual real evidence. There are a lot of people working on this because there has to be some kind of circuitous or complex mechanism that is allowing us to notice certain things. But I don't think it's as simple as the soil gives the grapes what they need. In fact, I've got a quote. So a few articles. Caroline Gilby, MW, very famous, wrote a spectacular article on the subject of minerality. She references a 2013 study by Alex Altman, which is, I think, the first major scientific, I could be lying there, I'm sorry to whoever has done this before 2013, but I'm pretty sure this was like the first proper scientific evidence to say that actually, no, there is no causation.
Right.
We have no evidence. In fact, plants are exceptional at only taking up what they need and not taking up extra minerals.
Which is fascinating because, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
Yeah.
Like if I'm looking back on my days of my, biology classes, right? And thinking about all that you learned, with regards to how a plant gets its nutrients, both from the soil and from, photosynthesis, right? Like the two main ways it's getting what it needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really only pulls in, plants really do only pull in what is necessary.
Yeah.
They do filter out everything else. So that is fascinating and now has me wondering, what is it that's going on here? Because
exactly. Which people are working very hard to figure out.
There's a difference. We just can't, we can taste it.
But basically, we know that obviously minerals in soil are very complex things, complex compounds. And what ends up in the glass are essentially singular elements that we're studying. So they are not the same. By function, they are not the same. Also, in order to get those elements into the wine, all these minerals are being dissolved in water, or some of them, I should say, not all of them. But like mostly that process is being diluted immediately.
Right.
So so there are various things I can say here. This is the quote by Caroline Gilby. The thing is that plants are very good at absorbing what they need and nothing more. And it's important to understand that, in fact, what they are taking up from the soil through the roots has to be dissolved in water, meaning very simple ions, and these have no taste at levels that are measured in wine. So
interesting.
We literally cannot taste the ions that end up in the wine. There is no mark by which that can be measured. There is no mark by which that has been measured. This has been studied. So this seems to have held. This evidence that is from 2013 seems to currently be the thinking. But the other quote that I wanted to say, which is an Alex Altman quote, any connection between a sensation of minerality in a wine and vineyard geology cannot be literal and direct, but has to be complex and circuitous. So we just don't understand.
Right.
And maybe we'll prove that there is no connection.
Well, and see, that's the thing. It doesn't feel like that because
we have decades of tasting. Again, it's all subjective.
Right.
And everyone's palates are slightly different, so everyone's understanding of these things is slightly different, and it's really hard to communicate in words.
Fair.
But this term, minerality, has taken hold because it fills a purpose.
Right.
We are tasting these things. Whether or not we're communicating them properly is one thing, but
true.
But there is enough subjective evidence over decades and decades of study that indicate that people can literally tell the soil type that they're ingesting.
Which means something is getting through.
Something
is getting through, and we just haven't figured out how or why.
And some people are obviously going to be good at this and experience
some people,
matters. And
some people not so much. Yep.
But for instance, I do believe that I'm getting better at it. I've just started focusing on this in my tasting, but I think I'm starting to feel what limestone soils taste like.
Yeah.
There is a saltiness to limestone.
There's a saltiness. And it's not the same.
And it's not the same as oceanic saltiness, which we may as well launch
take that
into this.
opportunity. Why not taste something while we talk about this, right?
Yes.
But see, this is where, this is where I look to that wonderful example I just keep running back to, right? I know I've done it a million times in this podcast, but it's hard not to run back to them because they were meticulous. And it's the monks in Burgundy, where it's like something about the soils matters here. Something does. And we may not have the evidence as to exactly what is going on, right? But from a scientific standpoint, but we have like countless records from nearly 100 years worth of data that these monks took in Burgundy, where they were literally documenting how the same grape tasted different from across the street. And they were doing the same winemaking techniques. They were not changing anything. Everyone was doing the exact same thing from plot to plot, and each plot tasted different. And today, we taste that difference in Burgundy. This is why we all are sitting here going, I prefer X over Y, right? Even on a micro level in the north of Burgundy, you have people who will go, I like Volnay, but then you have people who go, I like Marsanne. They're not far from each other, those plots, those particular vineyard sites. They're not that far from each other. It's not like we're talking about the north of Burgundy versus the southern tip, right? So what is
it? I will throw a slight wrench in there. Yes,
Please do.
We have centuries of monks studying these things. But let's face it, they didn't understand the scientific behind the scenes work. And the other thing that we have evidence that matters is the climate, the microclimates of these regions. So rain, like if we just focus on rain, if there is rain at crucial points of a grape's growth, it will dilute the resulting minerality, the resulting ions in the wine.
Right.
So there are reasons beyond just plots of land. And like nitrogen plays a huge part as well. The levels of nitrogen in the wine directly matter to the amount of, and this is where the science got a little beyond me, and I need to do more reading, and I will do it because I find it really interesting.
Right.
But we're talking about metallic cations as well, and these are the things that are oxidizing. These are the things that directly oxidize in the wine. It's the metallic elements.
Interesting.
It's not just the juice.
Okay.
The oxygen is affecting metallic elements in the wine.
See, that's very interesting as well. Like when we talk about metallic elements in the wine, like my brain wants to run to places like Sancerre, where it's a heavy flint soil, right? Very specific type of minerality.
So this was what I was saying earlier, is like Sancerre and Chablis, not two coastal areas.
No.
Were ones that we accepted certain mineral catch-all terms.
Right.
We didn't use the word minerality, but we did use flinty and steely.
Yes.
So these words were accepted for decades before the 2000s. But this catch-all term has taken hold in a way that may not be as direct,
right,
but is something that people are noticing. The other thing I just wanted to mention before we move on to coastal is that also treatment in the winery directly affects the result.
Oh, for sure.
So obviously, if something is heavily oaked, we're just not going to notice the same levels of minerality, even if it's a grape that reflects minerality, like Nebbiolo, for instance. Well, if it's a heavily oaked Nebbiolo.
So what you say there, I totally understand, but now I have an example where this is quite fascinating to me in this regard, because you and I had tasted on our very first episode, we had tasted Sancerre, specifically from one producer who actually does use
in monopoles,
and does use oak, and there was still a heavy amount of that mineral, and it was neutral oak, but like I would have expected even neutral oak to soften some of that, and it didn't.
No, I think it's more the any additional flavors.
The adding of another
actually,
flavor is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is actually something to point on is that oh no, I've lost it. Oh no. I'll get it. I'll get back there. But when we talk about When we talk about minerality, we're often talking about texture.
Yes, that's true,
as
actually.
other things.
Yeah.
As well as flavors. So something that feels steely, it might not actually taste that way, but it's the way the acids are interacting.
Right.
And it does seem like minerality incorporates a lot of acids, and they're finding that certain acids with higher levels in wine, and there is one that I fully don't remember the name of, but it is somehow to do with sulfur. It's connected with sulfur uptake.
Oh.
The higher that is, the more textural and the more noticeable it is in the wine.
So there's a particular acid that can appear in grapes, is what you're saying. That
Sulfuric or something, something like that.
That
Lots
if
of
it takes in more sulfuric,
again,
like
I think it's a bit
compounds.
more. It's a more complex, circuitous route to that. But yes, it's increasing some kind of metallic cation in the wine,
Which does that have to do with the soils?
is
then
noticeable to us.
See, this is the very question now.
It's
It's
also
like
to do with the winemaking.
with the winemaking too.
And
Okay.
also what they're using to treat soils.
Gotcha.
Wine while the grapes are growing. So I think there's a lot. Again, this is why it's so complex.
Right.
This is why we don't understand it, because there are so many things that can change.
But we still know that if it comes from certain places, it's going to taste a certain way.
Yes.
And that is something we have yet to figure out.
Yes, that's something we've yet to figure out. So we can talk about like types of minerality.
Well, yeah, and I think let's talk about one particular type that we definitely have on this table here as well, which I've just poured us a glass of the Balia Chocolate Rosé from the Basque Country in Spain, from Chocolate, right? And the grape here is Hondurabi, and I always mix up the two.
Yes.
Because there are two grapes. They're both called Hondurabi. It's the second name.
No.
There's Hondurabi.
Why don't we know this?
Yeah. You got your phone out there. You're going to have to look
do
it up. I keep blanking on which is which. One is for the white wine, and one is for the
This is going to be
rosé.
a blend.
And yeah, the rosé is always a blend usually.
Yeah.
But we're talking about
Zeltzer.
Oh, it's right here on the back. Why am I even talking to you about this? And I'm not even reading the back of the bottle, right? That's because the back of the bottle doesn't always showcase this stuff. But it's Hondurabi Belza and Hondurabi Zuri. Zuri is the one I know. That's the one that if you're having a white, it's Hondurabi Zuri. And then if you're having the rosé, it's a blend of Hondurabi Belza and Hondurabi Zuri. Belza being the red grape, Zuri being the white grape.
Okay, cool.
So it gets confusing because they both start with the name Hondurabi, which definitely confuses us as professionals. I can only imagine what it does for everybody else. But
I don't know if people even know the grapes.
I know, and honestly,
I mean,
but
we're
people
also dealing with Catalan language and Basque language.
I know
because Chacolí or Chacolina are the two
gosh.
versions of the same region.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
However, this is a place where we're getting salinity in the sense of oceanic influence. And the closer those vineyards are to the Atlantic, the more saline of a quality we tend to get in the wine. Now, this is a little different, right? And we'll touch on Picpoul in a second here. But when we talk about like these two places, we're talking Albarino from
Rías Baixas.
Exactly. And then we're talking about Hondurabi Zuri and Hondurabi Belza from Chocolate. And these two areas are right next to the Atlantic Ocean, just in different areas of Spain.
So
there's a lot of
northwest and then central north, essentially.
Yes. And there's a lot of very like heavy amounts of salt air around these vineyards. And the interesting thing with Albarino is this comes back to the tasting it thing, right? If the vineyards are closer to the Atlantic, you tend to taste more of a saline quality in your Albarino. If the vineyards are more inland, you get less of a saline quality from your Albarino. I've tasted these side by side many times. I know you have as well. It's something you notice. You're like, oh, wow, this is very, very salt air influence, right? So there is definitely something about the salt air influencing the grape where the salt is landing on the grape itself.
Yeah, I mean, the skins are porous, so
They're taking it in that regard.
Something.
And that we know too
Even if it's
because
minuscule.
California, Northern California has played around with some of these coastal varietals like Albarino, and the vineyards there don't get the same, they don't have it the same way. The air is not as salty in those
I tried
areas.
Picpoul from McLaren Vale a while ago. It was like biting into a salty lime.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was epic. Yeah.
Yeah, and Picpoul is another one. So the interesting thing with Picpoul is now we're in the southeast of France. We're in the Mediterranean. We're actually we're moving closer to the border with Spain. Specifically, just for anyone who's wondering where Picpoul is, it is the name of a place and the name of the grape.
Yes.
And it's
sometimes spelled differently.
Yes.
Very annoying.
And it's in the Languedoc region.
Yes.
And Picpoul is an ancient grape varietal, which is really cool. That's my favorite little tidbit about the grape is that it was being grown by the Romans in this very area 2,000 years ago, which is wild to think about, right?
Which came from the Greeks.
And we can't say that about all these grapes. A lot of these grapes, some of them that people are used to they were born later on from crossing of different grapes, but some of these grapes we work with, like Picpoul, very ancient. But Picpoul stands out to me because it's, yes, getting the influence from the Mediterranean, but it's also growing in these vineyards that are right up against these oyster beds.
Yeah.
Like actual man-made inland oyster beds. So there's a lot of salt water seeping into the soils of the vineyards that are sitting directly next door. And then you taste a Picpoul and it is salty. It feels like an oyster wine because it feels like it's got the qualities of an oyster in it, right? So comes back to like, yeah, these two are getting that oceanic influence in that sense of like, there's a lot of salty air coming off the Atlantic, right? But this has the soil bit going on here as well. There's salty water soils that this is growing in, and that's got to be playing a factor into this because this is
it depends
super
on
salty.
what the wine is taking up.
Exactly, and this comes back to that whole point, right? We don't know, but you can taste it.
But then you can say the same thing about Muscadet.
True.
It's oyster influence. There are many oyster beds around that region. They're not as close, probably, as Picpoul beds are, but those wines, exceptional and salty.
Yeah.
And wonderful. So there is definitely plenty of correlation to be had.
Right.
We just don't have blatant evidence right now.
And I'm wondering if we are going to figure it out in our lifetimes. Because clearly...
Well, it's been seriously worked on since the 2010s, so hopefully...
It's complex, and it seems like we haven't yet found inroads with what it could be that we're dealing with here.
I think they're kind of figuring it out piece by piece, and the whole picture isn't there yet. There's probably a ton more evidence that I just didn't even find, but...
Interesting.
There's definitely an article that was written in 2025, and by article I think I mean scientific study.
Oh, okay.
So that's the one that I found 10 minutes before I arrived here. So I really wish I'd found that earlier. But that seemed to back up what Alex Altman had discovered in 2013.
Okay.
So it didn't seem to have much new justifications.
Gotcha.
Many new justifications. Anyway. So, yeah, it's a fascinating topic. It gets certain people hot under the collar.
I can I can understand that.
And also I understand that minerality is an incredibly vague word. And
It is.
It means a whole bunch of different things to a whole bunch of different people. So, yeah, when we're dealing with actual saltiness in the wine, so let's
Yeah, I just
into
took a sip of this, and you can definitely tell there's a bit of salinity in here.
it's actually more fruity on the nose than
But
I expected it to.
there's a good amount of fruit. It's very generous with its fruit. I think there's a good deal of red fruit in here that is kind of paired with that saltiness.
It's salty. Yeah.
And then the acid. The acid is just, I mean, in these wines, the acid's always kicking. Also, love that Chocolate is a low ABV wine. It's 11%. You know,
11%.
it's not super high. So this is a perfect summer sipper.
Perfect picnic wine.
Yeah.
You can drink it all day and, well.
Versus the Albarino here is 12.5%. So we're moving up, you know. And then the Picpoul, I think, is also.
And this is 12.5, yeah.
Oh, no, that's 12.5. Picpoul's 12.5. So we're pretty decent with all these.
Effervescence.
Yeah.
Chocolate is known for its effervescence. There are obviously examples that don't have that, but the easy drinking styles tend to have a bit of fun bubbles.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's really nice.
But that's the thing. I kind of like, I know we don't have an answer for it yet. I get that. Or no solid answers as to why. But I truly love that we just know, you know, that there is something about the soil and the place that makes it taste like it does. Etna Bianco, another great example, as we were talking about those, you know, the soils around Mount Etna are very volcanic, rich soils, right? So there's a very specific type of minerality that you are tasting in
And
Etna
I
Bianco.
have directly heard very eminent and scientific wine people in the wine world with scientific backgrounds absolutely saying they can taste volcanic soils.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's something to it.
But then if you have Caricante, the primary grape in Etna Biancos, if you have that from somewhere else in Sicily, which I have had, it doesn't taste the same.
No.
Because the soils aren't as rich in those volcanic, that volcanic nature to it, right? Don't get me wrong, the soils all over Sicily are volcanic in nature, historic volcanic soils. But
yeah, I mean,
Etna,
it's actually way more diverse than
it's more, you're right, it's more diverse.
People know, yeah.
But Etna is just such a high concentration because it's still an active volcano and it's right there. It's the, you know, it's been doing this for, I don't know how long Etna's been an active volcano, but, you know, probably thousands of years, but.
Yeah, bordering on hundreds of thousands, maybe.
I mean,
I don't know how long volcanoes last.
Well, good question. I don't know that either. I am not a geologist.
Nope.
But, you know, I think that makes a big difference. We can tell, you can taste it. And that's what I love about this. This is what I love about wine, is that we don't even have an answer. We don't have a solid answer for this, but we can taste it in the glass.
Yeah.
And
it's, I mean, we know it matters. We just don't know how.
Right.
And maybe it's incredibly complex and we'll never fully understand it. But either way, salt on grapes is one thing, or even oils on grapes. So something like eucalyptus,
right,
which is absolutely noticeable in certain wines from certain places. A lot of Australian wines, you can taste it. Barossa, even though Barossa is not the super famous one, Coonawarra is the super famous one for eucalyptus notes. But Barossa, a lot of those wines get it. Yarra Valley, some of those wines get it. So it's, if there are eucalypts everywhere, the oils do get on the skins. How they are then resulting in the wine, I don't know, someone else can explain that.
Something we have not figured out yet.
That's not being taken up by the roots. That's ending up on the skins. Same with salt.
Right.
So that seems to be another mechanism entirely and more proven at this point. Soils is another thing, which we will work on and we will one day understand, hopefully.
Yeah. One day.
So other regions that when we talk about minerality, obviously, Chablis, Sancerre, we're talking about like Kimmeridgian soils. Everyone always uses Kimmeridgian soils, which are ancient fossil soils, which hold a lot of oyster shells in them. Ironically,
we should make sure everyone knows that, actually let me do my 2 seconds on Kimmeridgian soils.
Do it.
Very famous in France. Very famous in France. This is where you find it, right? Kimmeridgian soil. And what?
UK and Germany.
Oh yes, and it's elsewhere as well. France is famous for it though, and the reason is because there's the Paris Basin, which is part of the geological history of France. France at one point in its history, we're talking millions of years ago, right, was a seabed. It was a seabed. And that's where all this soil composition comes from, is that these are ancient seabeds. And if you go into these vineyards today, where there's a heavy amount of Kimmeridgian marl soils, you've seen the pictures, I've seen the pictures, we've seen examples. Winemakers will bring that soil here to the U.S.
Yeah.
Shh, don't tell anybody. Only as an example, right? Because what they're bringing is they're not bringing the actual like soil as like dirt, right? What people would think about. They're bringing literal fossils of oyster shells. There are fossils of clams and different like hard-shelled sea creatures. I'm blanking on the name. Crustaceans, right? Their soils literally have these fossils in them, and you walk through the vineyards and you will look down and there's a fossil. And that is what we're talking about. That's what these vineyards are littered with in some places in France, which is wild and fascinating, right? Same as when you go to Champagne. Champagne does have Kimmeridgian soils there as well, limestone soils, number of different types of soils. But one of the most interesting things to me is, I saw an example this recently with a winemaker that came through. It's chalky soils as well in some areas, very heavy amounts where we're talking literal chalk. Like reach down, touch it, it looks white, right? And you pull your hand up and it's like you just opened up a pack of chalk for a chalkboard because it's that kind of chalk and it's all over your hands now, right? And vineyards just heavy with it.
People say they can taste chalky. I don't think I still know what that actually translates.
I have started to be able to as the years have gone on here. I've gotten better at it, but
got to work on that.
But that's also because I consume a great deal of champagne. Not afraid to admit that. I'm a lover of champagne. I let it break my wallet every now and again, and I'm very happy after I've done that. And I have started to notice the chalkiness, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Very specifically in Blanc de Blancs from Champagne.
Yeah, I guess I do know it. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's more that brioche style, I have a harder time.
But again, that's more flavors masking
exactly
what's going on.
But if it's that cleaner, crisp, like Blanc de Blanc style, I get that every time. I have started to be able to like pick it up.
I absolutely know that.
Yeah.
Texture. Yeah.
Texture.
So we've one of the other things that has been proven, I should just point this out, is that certain grapes seem to convey minerality better than others. And
interesting.
A lot of the ones we're talking about right now do, but the big names like Sauvignon Blanc, Nebbiolo, big one. Obviously, reds are harder.
Yeah.
Because there are more things going on. There are more ways to mask minerality.
The tannins, that skin contact, that makes a big difference. Yeah.
But generally, Muscadet, Melon de Bourgogne, Sauvignon Blanc, obviously. And there are just Chenin Blanc is another one. So when we talk about minerality, often gets mentioned with Chenins from the Loire, from South Africa.
Tuffeau soils.
Yep. Tuffeau soils. But Chenin seems to convey quite a direct sense. Like,
interesting.
The thing that I always got talked about was like wool, like wet wool with Chenins.
Oh, I've gotten that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also just it's a high acid grape, so it's going to directly. I mean, all the ones I've mentioned are all high acid grapes,
right?
So maybe that's the correlation that needs to be that is being studied as well, is
Maybe.
this concept of acid and the different levels of acids and what that does.
It-
Marlborough, obviously.
Yep.
It's a completely different style, but it is so crisp. Here's a word I want to say. I use this word a lot.
Okay.
And with people that don't work in the wine industry, it really annoys just general drinkers because it's so not clear what I mean. But I use the word linear a lot.
Yes.
With whites, especially, obviously. But for me, it's A, textural, B, it's about how it hits the palate.
Right.
And if it's really clearly just like hitting all the spots on the way down and it just feels very angular, that's linear.
Linear. Yeah. Makes sense to me.
And that's a lot of these wines, Sancerre, Chablis. Other areas, Canary Islands, obviously, highly volcanic soils.
Yeah.
The pictures that you can find, you should look this up. It's crazy how they're growing grapes there.
Right.
I mean, also Santorini is another one.
Yep.
The basket weaving, just to prevent the grapes from getting attacked by wind because it's incredibly windy.
Nobody ever thinks about these things.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that
And that's why it's so expensive because they're not growing a lot.
this is also why I like coastal vineyards, is because they do not look the same as vineyards that are inland. Inland vineyards.
Rías Baixas to
Yeah.
Santorini.
Inland vineyards, those are the ones that everybody pictures when they picture a vineyard.
Yeah.
Nice clean rows, the vines growing in a very particular way on like trellises and all that kind of, right? But it is the coastal vineyards where they have to do things like the basket weaving, or like the Canary Islands where they have to dig those ditches and have them
literally
grow
looks
in the
like it's
ditches,
from a
right?
science fiction movie.
And I've actually, what's
It's
funny?
crazy.
Terrence and I have watched literal, like, we watch shows that are like really, really cool and really popular, like on Apple TV and all that right now, where they have filmed in those locations. And I literally, of course, I've got to stop myself because
Is one of them like Foundation?
Yep.
Yeah,
They
okay.
did that, right?
Yeah,
They filmed
I-
in those locations
I knew
with those
that
vineyards,
must
right?
Be that one.
Like
I've not
where I
seen
have
it,
to stop
but-
myself and be like, oh my gosh, I know what those vineyards are, right? Like I know what that is. I know exactly where they were, right?
Yeah.
But this is what's cool. Or like, you have the grapes grow in the goblet, trained
Yeah.
vines, right? Which is big on Santorini, low to the ground, keep it like, from
Yeah.
blowing over, right? Another technique. Coastal vineyards just they're not uniform. And that's what's cool about them.
And obviously the edges of land masses are in far higher states of crumbling
Right.
than inland. So because of the interaction with the sea, so they are shaped so uniquely everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And Rías Baixas, I know I keep bringing it back to that, but like some of those look lush and gorgeous and green, and then some of them are like rocky and really hard terrain, and it's just incredibly inleted all around. So you go 1 mile and it's a completely different look.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, same technically with the Mediterranean coast. It's maybe not as extreme, but it looks different.
Yeah.
The foothills just change the aspect immediately
They really do.
and change the soil types and yeah. So yeah, lots to talk about. I really enjoyed researching this one. This is something I've been intending to do more research on, and I'm not done. I will do more.
I mean, there's so much. Here's the thing. The beauty of the wine world, right? And we'll say it until we're blue in the face, is that you just can keep on going and going and going and going and going, right? This is one of those few professions.
It's never ending.
You're a student for life.
Which is
you
why
are literally a student.
we
You can
love
get
it.
those high certifications. You are still a student for life.
Wait 10 years, it'll be entirely different.
Because everything is constantly in flux and changing. And
And the wine world has grown so dramatically in the last 20 years, especially.
right.
And now we're in a bit of a decline, but it'll grow again at some point. And there are new countries, there are new regions.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah. New scientific evidence
Yeah.
each year. So it's fascinating.
Fascinating
Always,
and fun
always fun.
and exciting. Well, I'll end it on this. If anyone is a fan of saline quality wines, mineral driven wines, particularly coastal wines. Let's go there. These are 4 excellent examples on the table that you will find at every Vino Divino shop, which is great. Etna Bianco, Picpoul de Panay, Albarino, which a lot of people I think definitely know, or if it's the Portuguese, side of the border, Alvarinho.
Yeah.
Change that B for a V, and then Chocolate, which is always a fan favorite. So half of this is Spanish, and then a quarter of what's on the table is French, and a quarter is Italian.
Yep.
But
There are more.
there are more.
There are so many examples.
So many examples. So I would say definitely get out there and explore. And shameless plug, great way to explore. Join our wine club. $99 a month, 4 bottles, and you will find things like this in our wine club. We will explore these regions. These are fun.
Such a good example of a mineral continental wine last time.
I know.
Yeah, well, I guess it might be Mediterranean.
Yeah, it's a bit more Mediterranean, I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
But either way, not directly on the coast and
Right.
super salty.
Yeah.
But yeah, great way to explore. Very interesting. Every single month has been a new learning experience for me.
And for me. And I'm the one seeking out these things, right?
Yeah.
Seeking out things that I'm not fully aware of. That's the whole point of the club. We're all learning together.
Yeah.
But on that note, I think we've hit our
covered what we need
points,
to cover.
right? We've
Yes.
covered what we need to cover. Hope that everyone has learned something. I sure have. And until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.